20 plus hours of testimony, 20 plus hours of arguments stretched over 5 days resulted in what? The exact same outcome that we all kind of figured was going to happen. Now, the final vote total might be a little bit different than what we expected. The same 5 Republicans, rhinos rather, voted exactly how you'd expect them to, but there are 2 newcomers, and we can't forget their names either, but we'll get to them in a minute. But first and foremost, the big news everybody expected, or if you're on the Democratic Impeachment Manager side, the big lie has been committed, and it's finally come to fruition. Ugh, enough. It really... Here, I'll just sum up everything, and we'll get to a couple of the big points out of the impeachment manager's final closing remarks that got delayed, and then eventually had to get re-delayed because they tried to introduce new evidence and lie directly in the face of what a senator who previously objected to some of their lies beforehand had to kindly remind them that what they're trying to say is just not right. But yeah, the impeachment managers, oh my God, they just kept using catchphrase after catchphrase. Oh, the big lie, the insider-in-chief, January exception. It was like listening to a rock promo in 2000. It was just, if you smell what Raskin's cooking, with the wavy fucking arm gestures too. The dude is nuts and he's terrible and won't have to hear from him again. But he'll be elected in perpetuity because he's a Congress member from Maryland and a Democrat, and they just vote stupidly like 75% red, or blue rather, the complete opposite of that. Anyways, here's the 30,000 foot view, and then we'll get into what the impeachment managers tried, the vote itself, who are the 7 turncoats, and what the aftermath has been so far. With that stated, former President Donald Trump was acquitted of an insurrection incitement charge by the Senate on Saturday. 57 senators voted to convict Trump. Oh, but they needed 67 supermajority, 2/3 vote. Oh, it sucks. You hate to see it, guys. All 43 senators who voted to acquit Trump are Republicans. Yep, of course. Because what you're supposed to do in a trial is look at the evidence that's provided, and one side had evidence and the other one had very slick presentation with edited clips that were called out on the fly, but just showing you that there's no partisanship there whatsoever. And another thing that they continued to bang on about is that, you should put your country in front of your party, and showing that all Democrats voted to convict him really proved that was what the impeachment managers were trying to do. Make sure that the country goes back in front of your party. Ugh. I had concerns with the lack of due process and constitutionality of this trial going in, and I voted twice to say so. Yes, and this is a very real reason, a very good reason not to vote for the initial vote that held on Tuesday to see if this trial was necessary. And then again, if the impeachment managers didn't provide a good case, instead of just bitching that Trump wouldn't show up to waive his Fifth Amendment right and testify against himself. Fucking brain dead cocksuckers didn't want to adhere to the United States Constitution. They just figured that they could cherry pick arguments from England, from states' constitutions back in the late 1700s, instead of living up to the real text that's in the Constitution and the amendments there within. But no, it's just an appeal to emotion, which is working right now, and a little scared about what might happen overnight, but whatever, it's not to be unexpected, I suppose. But I had a duty as a juror to listen to the arguments of both sides and keep an open mind, which I did. Senator Tommy Tuberville, which, to be fair, his vote was never in question, but at least he said he kept an open mind. I fucking press X to doubt on that one, but that's all we needed out of this article. Just nice fucking high-level view. That's the end of it, right? But you got to take a look at the lengths that the impeachment managers went to. Because the day started earlier than expected. I thought it was supposed to start at noon on the coast, but I think it started at like 10. And then when I tuned in, the Senate was out. They were just milling about the floor, wondering what the fuck is going on. The impeachment managers thought that a breaking CNN revelation that House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Donald Trump had a heated phone call, and that led the impeachment managers to want to introduce new evidence. swear in a new witness, even though they declined to do so and failed to do so in the previous 16 hours that they were allotted. They used 12 or 14 hours of that to bore us all to death. But now, all of a sudden, because CNN uncovered a revelation of a phone call, I mean, this smoking gun phone call, as according to Newsweek, Impeachment Manager said they wanted to hear about a reported discussion between House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and former President Donald Trump on the day of the Capitol riot, leading to speculation McCarthy may be called as a witness to trial. Yeah, they had to go out for a little better than an hour to figure out what the fuck are we doing, okay? Are we voting to let witnesses in? Because if that's the case, then the president's side said that, okay, fine, fuck it. If you guys are going to vote to have one witness come in, we're going to subpoena 100 of you motherfuckers, and we're going to drag this out forever and ever and ever. Mike Vanderveen came up and said that, and this dude is, oh my God. There is not enough good words in the dictionary to describe what kind of a defense he provided. His background is personal injury, but he inflicted quite the evisceration on the impeachment manager's team. Oh my God. Every minute he was up there, it was glorious. And also what he said, this was especially egregious because, yeah, on the same vein, it's like, okay, if you guys are going to start to invite in witnesses now and we're going to have to subpoena them, well, guess what? I'm going to be going back to my office and you can send them all there because that's how we're fucking doing this. And that's how you do it in criminal cases, by the way. And the Senate started to laugh. They started to laugh because they just wanted to let you know that the senators, we're elected officials. We're above you plebs. We don't need to play by your rules. We have our own different set of rules. Don't you understand that? It didn't show an establishing shot of which Senate members vote or laughed at that, but you could kind of imagine it was probably the Democrat side. So they ended up in a quorum after they figured out that there was no vote to be had and that they had to figure out what the fuck they were going to be doing. And they ended up in a quorum for an hour. And at the end of the day, this phone call that apparently happened as it was reported on got admitted into the evidence, but it wasn't accepted as being factually true because Mike Vanderveen came back up, Bruce Castor is apparently the lead attorney for President Trump's team, and I think he came up and he said two things all day today. It was just the Vanderveen show, and we were all privy enough to watch it. But yeah, here's what this reported phone call that definitely 100% happened was, and this is breaking information, by the way. Breaking my ass. Lead House Impeachment Manager Jamie Raskin on Saturday said he'd support subpoenaing a GOP Congresswoman, Jamie Herrera Butler, to testify after she confirmed reports about a conversation in which McCarthy tried to convince Trump to call off the January 6th riot. Okay, listen, I already highlighted the fact that this is a reported discussion, so it's not even first-hand information. It would immediately get thrown out of a criminal court. But yeah, as it continues on here, that Herrera Butler testified that she confirmed reports. She confirmed a report. Well, that's good. Did she take place in that conversation? Oh no, she was just abreast of the situation. Trump reportedly replied, okay, I'm just thinking, like, if somebody's just talking on their phone, how are you supposed to know who's on the other end? What the fuck are we doing here? This is your bombshell evidence? That his supporters were more upset about the election than him, offering a glimpse into Trump's doubling down on the violent riots. Okay, well, if that apparent alleged phone call happened during the riots, I've had a bitch of a time trying to find it because the only confirmed phone call that I could find from Kevin McCarthy took place the following Monday, January 11th. That's the only one that I could find that Kevin McCarthy actually is confirmed. You know, the guy who was allegedly talking to Trump. And they have a very different conversation than what was being reported. They said, oh, well, Trump knew that everybody was going to be there. Oh, can he prove that? I've confirmed the reports, therefore. And like, just shut up. It would be useless. Why would you bother subpoenaing her? She would fall apart under cross-examination. Bakersfield Republican Representative Kevin McCarthy said he implored President Donald Trump during an intense hour-long phone conversation Monday to accept his electoral defeat and move forward with a peaceful transition of power, which is exactly what happened on January 20th. Okay, the peaceful transfer of power, the transfer of power and all, doesn't happen until the 20th of January. It doesn't happen on the 6th. So everything that happened there, and every time that the impeachment managers try to tie the riots to a peaceful transfer of power, is fucking horse shit. It happened 2 weeks beforehand. The president listened deeply as the House Minority Leader pleaded with him, telling him the election was over and he needed to move on. Stop this, McCarthy recalled, telling him. Now, we could go back over everything that was said in this phone call, but the fact that it took place on January 11th and we're having an impeachment trial on February 13th, there was plenty of time to subpoena those phone records, to get the transcript of what was said there. But instead, we're just going to go with information that's been widely out there for a long time and then just try to slapdash it in the middle. But that isn't the only time that the impeachment managers tried this. They tried this again with Mike Lee. They brought up the phone call that was immediately refuted back 2 days ago by Mike Lee during the impeachment manager's first full day of presenting evidence. And they tried to bring it up again in his closing arguments. And Mike Lee immediately stood up and said, no, that's lies. I need that stricken from the record. You can't present something that is factually wrong, factually incorrect, because I am the witness. I was the one who was there. You can't say that. That was the Tommy Tuberville phone call that got the impeachment managers in hot water, but all the critics will just glaze over that one. But no, he stood up, and then that caused another delay in the Senate because this was a total fucking kangaroo court. It eventually got stricken, and then the impeachment managers continued on with their presentation, and I don't have an article and I don't have anything for a backdrop for this, so hopefully you can stand Ossoff, Warnock, and Schumer in the lower third of your screen for a second. But Representative Gase, the librarian-looking bitch who was up there and she was on the impeachment team, she tried to play a brand new video in her closing arguments. That's not how this stuff works. And then another fucking delay in the Senate occurred because she thought that it was played earlier. Actually, she thought that the statements that the video was trying to make was introduced earlier, therefore she could play the video that had never been played before in any of the proceedings. That is not how shit works. And then they ended up bickering back and forth, and I think that was about a half an hour delay as well. Just a total disaster. They couldn't have convinced anybody on today's closing remarks. It was a fantastic calamity, which is why it's a little bit more shocking that one more Republican hopped over. But based on who it is, the dude was just elected. So by the time the 2026 rolls around, they'll just try to gloss us over because we could be in the second term of Trump, which I'll make a case for at the end. Or it'll be a wildly different Republican Party, and who fucking knows the direction. But it's these people who just can't fucking read a room. 7 Republicans joined Democrats in voting to convict former President Trump. 7 GOP senators on Saturday joined 50 Democrats in voting to commit former President Donald Trump on the article of impeachment. Through the vote fell short, and Trump was acquitted. Of course he was. Senators Richard Burr, old Dick Burr from North Carolina. He's the new one. Susan Collins from Maine, Bill Cassidy, Mitt Romney, obviously, Ben Sass, obviously, Lisa Murkowski, and Pat Toomey. And we can really just break this all down, okay? Collins, Sass, and Cassidy just got elected in 2020, so they are not going to have to face the voters again for another 6 years. Burr and Toomey are retiring and are going to be done in 2022, so it really doesn't matter. They can go derelict in their responsibility of representing their constituents. And, throw everybody under the bus. And then that just leads 2 people, okay? Romney, I think it's fairly fucking obvious. Romney wouldn't vote to put Trump out if he was on fire. And Murkowski knows that she's going to get primaried, so it really doesn't much matter. She's been a rhino even before Donald Trump showing up. So she was elected without GOP support to begin with and is continuing to fuck them in the ass. But not this current wave, because after the vote was read and everything was all said and done, they were just, oh, shucks, we didn't get that super majority that we knew we were never, ever, ever going to get. I'll hop over, and first person who was up, apparently a bunch of senators went out there. The only ones that I listened to were Schumer and McConnell. And Schumer went on this big fucking diatribe. And then at the end of the day, may or may not have tacitly endorsed more violence taking place. I'll explain. Senate top Democrat on Saturday called for the acquittal of called the acquittal of former President Donald Trump a vote of infamy, alleging Trump incited a January 6th breach on the Capitol while the body's top Republican voted to acquit the former commander-in-chief. Yeah, so we just held a vote and it didn't turn out my way, so let me just cry for 10 minutes in order to tell you why I think that he should be convicted. I didn't get my way. Let me just give you 10 minutes of cope. January 6th will live a day in infamy in the United States of America. The failure to convict Donald Trump will live as a vote of infamy. This dude loves to say that days will go down, the darkest day in history, infamous day in history, when Trump had tax cuts on the 6th itself, and then today, February 13th, darkest days in history, days that will live in infamy. Fucking melodramatic bitch. Schumer claimed Trump committed most despicable act that any president has ever committed, and the majority of Republicans cannot summon the courage or the morality to condemn it. No, I think they all did condemn the acts of the people who actually committed the violence, but if you couldn't prove a link between what Trump said and what those people did, how can you hold them accountable? You can't. At least if you have a clean conscience, at least if you have a straightforward appreciation of facts. But this was completely and utterly expected. Mitch McConnell, just like the impeachment managers with every question that they were asked yesterday, had a prepared answer. And Chuck Schumer knew he was going to lose this, so I wouldn't even imagine anybody drew up a victory speech for him. They already just had a concession speech that just read as wah, 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 wah. We lost, and we can't even audit this vote because it was totally out in public. And let me just tell everybody who voted and supported for Donald Trump, you're racist and you're bad and you support violence and everything is terrible all because of you. And you think that Mitch McConnell would hop up there and defend... Sorry, I couldn't get through that sentence without busting out laughing. Yeah. Trump spent weeks provoking riots, and he didn't do his job to stop riots. But I'll tell you, I voted not to convict former President Donald Trump because it was unconstitutional. He is somebody else who will be around for another 6 years. During a speech on the Senate floor on Saturday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell stated the former President Donald Trump's actions before the Capitol riots were disgraceful dereliction of duty, and that the president cannot spend weeks thundering that shadowy forces are stealing our country and then feign surprise when people believe him and do reckless things. McConnell also said during the riot, Trump did not act swiftly. He did not do his job. He didn't take steps so federal law could be faithfully executed and restored. Failing to mention that Trump offered 10,000 National Guardsmen to the city of Washington and to the Capitol Police Department as well, and nobody took him up on that, even though that the impeachment managers pointed this out several times. There were credible reasons to believe that there was something bad that was going to happen on the 6th, and Trump did nothing. Don't bring that up, though, because that would shatter their narrative. I'll spare you the McConnell impressions any further. We just need to get to this, a very important point. He had fed wild falsehoods by the most powerful man on earth because he was angry he lost an election. Former President Trump's action preceding the riot was a disgraceful dereliction of duty. There's no question, none, that Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of that day. No question about it. He was supposed to be up there defending his vote, but what he did was just condemn President Trump, even though they couldn't and wouldn't present credible evidence to prove that he incited anything. Go ahead, take it to criminal court. Go ahead. You'll just get laughed at for your case and then have it thrown out. And then you guys can probably just fucking cope on the Senate floor for another 10 minutes and just babble on about that. So this is just showing you that the Mitch McConnell, the Cassidy, Sass, Romney, Murkowski, Collins, Toomey Wing, they are as tone deaf as Nikki Haley. And we covered that bitch yesterday. They think that neoconism is the light. Everything is going to be great over there. All we need to do is just go back to the past and we'll have our greatness like what we had in 2012. That ended well. They do not get it. Some of these people are going to be here for a long time. Some of them are going to get peeled off in 2022. And Mitt Romney should just be kept around for the lulz. They don't get it. I don't understand how you can be so fucking tone deaf. How you think that the base is still energized behind the ideas of George W. Bush. Listen, nobody coming out of 2008 thought that it would be a great idea to continue on with those policies. Did you see Dick Cheney run? No. Did you see Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, literally anybody from that administration try to run again? Nope. And what happened when they tried to run another descendant of that Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan ticket? They got skunked again. Their idea of fighting back is losing with dignity. And I don't think so. And most of the Republican base doesn't think so either. Because the majority of Republicans want Donald Trump to stay active in politics. And especially after today. That's a great picture. Especially after today, dude. Even a CNBC survey released on Friday. And I'd imagine over the weekend, it's only going to get higher because the fucking screeching harpies, the meltdown that is happening right now. Oh my God, dude, it is a genius going on. Well, the poll taken February 2nd through 7th, prior to the formal start of President Trump's Second Senate Impeachment Trial, showed that 54% of Americans want the former president to remove himself from politics entirely. Republicans don't feel the same way, and that's the only ones who matter. Rather, nearly 3/4 of Republicans, guess what? It still stayed exactly the same. Last time that we reported on a poll of the support of President Trump, 74% want him to stay politically active. Opinions vary, however, concerning what that looks like. 48% of Republicans, for example, want him to remain at the head of the party, followed by 12% who want him to stay active, but in a different capacity than leading the party. That's... I don't want to say that I'm a part of the 12%, but I understand where they're at, okay? Being a kingmaker, setting everything up would be great, but here's what I'm thinking, okay? This is where I'm going to make my pitch that I think that Trump should run again in 2024, other than he's going to be wildly popular by the end of these next 4 years, as long as he sticks around, because there's a lot of these fucking whack jobs that are out there right now. So pray for safety and security, if you know what I mean, because I'm not too certain that this is going to be a wild 3 to 4 years. But I think if Trump runs again, if we get Biden, Trump 2, Trump's VP pick should be the guy who runs again in 2028. He should be grooming a successor. He should be in there to knock everything over. Go in there, install the people who fucked him over last time with people that are on the side of populism, for people that are on the side of the new wave of the Republican Party. Get rid of the rhinos, get rid of the people that backstabbed you the moment things got tough. And you can do that over the course of 4 years because you're not going to be term limited. You can wait out all of those people in the Senate that are going to fuck you over, and then you can primary them. And that's why I think that 2022 is going to be a great bellwether. Listen, if I'm dead wrong, if it is the Nikki Haley's, Mitch McConnell's, Lindsey Graham's of the world, then fuck them, make the Patriot Party. But it'd be much easier and much more of an immediate course correction if the Republican Party can get reformed. Because like it or not, it's a two-party system, and if you ain't in that club, you have next to no chance. Ask Kanye, you could count his votes on one hand. But no, select somebody to run with as your running mate, whether that's Gates, Noam, DeSantis, somebody who can pick up the torch with the established people in place where they aren't going to be fighting them for the first 4 years of their term. Go in there and set the framework, because that's what fucked Trump over so bad the first time, okay? A lot of bad advisors around him, a lot of bad picks. Honestly, the best picks of his entire tenure as president were 2 of the 3 impeachment trial lawyers that he just had there. Vanderveen and Schoen, and 3/4 of a Castor, let's be completely fair. Other times, everybody tucked tail and ran. Hiring Mitch McConnell's wife as transportation secretary. Betsy DeVos fought so hard for that bitch, and then she immediately, January 6th was such a terrible time, and I need to make sure that all of my neocon money can just go away, and then I'll come back later. All the senators that tucked tail and ran, fuck it, who cares? Get rid of them. Put your arm on that table and fucking knock everything off of it. That's why I think that Trump should run in 2024. Establish the framework so that the new Republican Party can go in unimpeded going forward. That they don't have to continue to fight against themselves and the monolithic opposition that is the Democrat Party. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. They vote as a block, and that's impressive. Just wait for that civil war to really heat up over the next couple of years with more of the progressives. We'll see. The midterm is going to be very telling, not just for the Republican Party direction. It's going to be telling for the Democrats as well, because the more fringe that they get, the worse the prospects of their party gets, because not too many people at large agree with socialism or its illogical ends. A lot of people still have vivid memories of the USSR. But in closing, we got a final statement from Trump's full and beautiful second impeachment. I got the best acquittal. Everybody agrees. I want to first thank my team of dedicated lawyers and others for their tireless work upholding justice and defending truth. My deepest thanks goes to all the United States senators and members of Congress who stood proudly for the Constitution we all revere and for the sacred legal principles at the heart of our country. Our cherished constitutional republic, which, quick aside, the impeachment managers refer to it as a constitutional democracy because they're dumb, was founded on the impartial rule of law, the indispensable safeguards of our liberty, our rights, and our freedoms. It is a sad commentary on our times that one political party in America is given a free press to denigrate the rule of law, defame law enforcement, cheer mobs, excuse rioters, and transform justice into a tool of political vengeance, and persecute, blacklist, cancel, and suppress all people and viewpoints with whom or which they disagree. I have, and always will, be a champion of the unwavering rule of law, the heroes of law enforcement, and the right of Americans to peacefully and honorably debate the issues of the day without malice and without hate. This has been yet another phase of the greatest witch hunt in the history of our country. No president has ever gone through anything like it, and it continues because our opponents cannot forget that almost 75 million people, the highest number ever for a sitting president, who voted for us just a few short months ago. I also want to convey my gratitude to the millions of decent, hardworking, law-abiding, God and country-loving citizens who have bravely supported these important principles in these very difficult and challenging times. Our historic, patriotic, and beautiful movement of Make America Great Again has only just begun. In the months ahead, I have much to share with you, and I look forward to continuing our incredible journey together to achieve American greatness for all our people. There has never been anything like it. We have so much work ahead of us, and soon we will emerge with a vision for a bright, radiant, and limitless American future. Together, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. May we remain one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God, and it's our responsibility to preserve this magnificent inheritance for our children and for generations to come. May God bless you all, and may God bless the United States of America. You know what that tells me? He ain't going away, folks. Continue your meltdown on Twitter because Trump is going to be active. Rhinos beware. The safari in 2020 is going to be delicious. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.